See, this is what I mean. Like, nah, I'll take it one step further from what he's saying. No, that's valid. A lot of the content cops were valid. And I say this as someone who watched them like years later. I miss the old iDubbbz. iDubbbz, friend of the show, Ian iDubbbz, came out with a video that was expected. For a while, I assumed that this would be coming, and it's finally here. I assume there will be more of this as well. The description of the video is, I haven't spoken candidly about my feelings on this channel. It's always been obscured by video criticizing someone else or some kind of skit. I've changed and matured during my time here on YouTube, and I'm glad that I have. Here are some charities that I'm supporting. Okay? Made a video. Can't wait for the dumb motherfuckers to go crazy over this video as well. Something that I've talked about a lot. Change. Rehabilitation. Becoming a better person. Growing. 37,000 dislikes. That's what change means. Okay? To your old audience, this is the reaction. This, however, is a new audience. An audience full of people who also have demonstrated similar levels of growth on maybe not as public issues or maybe not as issues as bad, but certainly, you've had your own journey in a similar capacity. I certainly have. I'm very open about it. I've talked about it a lot. Let's see how reasonable chat will get when I finally look at the video on iDubbbz. I miss the old iDubbbz.
Felt like if I changed my content over time, that people would see that as a reflection of who I am and what I value. But I'm starting to realize that that is a very weak and passive way to, run my channel and live my life. So I think it's, if I'm going to have the balls to go to Tana's fan meetup and say slurs at her and then make a video about how it's okay to say slurs, I think I should have the balls to make an apology video and take accountability for the mistakes I've made. So that's what this video is. I've realized that I need to be crystal clear about what I believe, so there's no room for ambiguity. I am responsible for creating a lot of hurtful and damaging content on this channel. And I've also created a culture of apathy and, a lot of like cruelty as well. Like, some of the videos I've made have been very, not edgy. I don't think they some of these videos were edgy. I think they were just outright cruel. So I don't want people to, get it confused about, where I stand. I have made some cruel, hurtful content, and I need to acknowledge that, and I'm really sorry that it's taken me this long to acknowledge it. The content I'm talking about specifically are content cop videos and videos where I was just generally criticizing people for very lackluster.
Lame and boring. Just sad. His content is bad. He's just virtue signaling in the opposite direction. This is not the way, man. What is the way, Grill Master? Can you tell me what you would do when you're done grilling and being the master of the grill? What would you do in that situation if you were like profoundly popular, like insanely popular, and the content that you made was like hyper fucking edgy? Okay? A lot of it actually did stand the test of time, for the record. Except for the obvious, like, groped up elements within it. But if you cultivated an audience of that and you slowly but surely, changed, became a better person, and then you turned around and actually did something that I believe is very courageous, which is apologize. I think it's a very adult thing to do. A very adult thing to do. It's a very brave thing to do, especially doing it in a very public way. Takes a lot of balls, especially when you kind of know no one is gonna fucking receive it positively. Because here's the thing. He's not gonna get a fucking welcome mat on the left, okay? That's never gonna happen. So that's number one. I don't even expect him to. Okay? In this community, I would like you to, but I can't force you to. And it gets very annoying every time I bring this shit up. Okay? Dude called you a mudblood? Wait, what the fuck? Anyway, I want to hear from Grillmaster. I would log off forever. How does that pair up with what you just said to me? Same with EK and you. Okay, hold up now. Let me explain to you something, okay? Ethan Klein, iDubbbz, and many other content creators who have grown were in a dramatically different political sphere at the time when I was getting fucking death threats. Sometimes from maybe not Ethan's audience, but sometimes from iDubbbz's audience. I don't care. I like that they changed. They grew up. They're great people overall. I think that's awesome. But come on now. Like, guys, when I say I've changed, when I say I've changed, like, you know, it wasn't that dramatic, okay? Which actually means that my growth was lesser, in my opinion. It wasn't as significant. I would log off forever. Well, you kind of functionally are logging off forever by not making content, so it's fine.
Reasons, and you know, obviously didn't have any accountability online whatsoever on my end. I was morally grandstanding and acting as if I am any better than any of these people that I was making content cop videos on, and I'm not. I'm a human. I'm a real human who makes mistakes, and you know, I make a different set of mistakes than the people I was making videos on, but it doesn't matter. I don't think anyone deserves that level of cruelty or hate. It's also indoctrinated a lot of people into thinking that this is an okay way to behave, and it's not. It's super irresponsible and shitty. I am very insecure about my ability to create interesting content or like entertain. It's gotten better over the years, but it's something that I have struggled with constantly. And it's one of the reasons why I, you know, kept making this hurtful content. You know, I ended up pivoting it into other things because I felt bad about it, like innately. But it's still something that I struggle with, and I don't want you to interpret that as an excuse, but I hope that that is relatable to other creators who maybe struggle with the same thing. I'm not confident in my ability to entertain, and I think if I had to rely on my personality to entertain people, that I wouldn't have any amount of success, and that is...
Dude, he nailed it, dude. That's it. I always say this, dude. People do fucking edgy jokes because they want to be funny. And I know this is someone who's not funny, who wants to be funny so fucking bad. And when you can't be funny because being funny requires you to be clever, smart, quick-witted, you know, sharp, fast on your goddamn feet. When you don't have any of that shit, you go over the low-hanging motherfucking fruit. And that low-hanging motherfucking fruit is always what drives a reaction out of the audience. And what drives an easy reaction is always the hackiest, most racist, most edgelordy shit you can say. I'm going to go ahead and say that I think Ian is being too hard on himself, for the record. I think he is very clever. And I think he did a lot of great content. Cu olmuşsun, haberin olsun. Ne demek abi? Ne bu? Cu ne amına koyayım? Ne? C-U ne? Anlamıyorum. Ne diyorsun? What the fuck are you saying? Jesus Christ, dude. Ananın amını sikeyim senin. Orospu çocuğu. Götten doğmuş bu. Geri zekalı. Got me with a fucking Joe Mama joke in Turkish, not realizing that the real Joe Mama is the top of the hour ad break, bitch. Because at the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break. If you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe, which you can do for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime. There's a 3-minute ad break now. And a hype train has just started on the channel.
really hard to come to terms with. I was being very bigoted in a lot of my videos, and I justified it because, I didn't think it was too serious. And I thought that people were going to see that I had good intentions, but that's so silly, Casual racism is still racism. Casual bigotry is still bigotry. And, I said a lot of things that I look back at and I cringe now, and I'm like, that is an awful thing to say. It doesn't matter what my intentions are. Like, if I'm hurting people, I'm hurting people. And, who the fuck knows what my intentions are? Like, sarcasm and like jokiness and jokey tone only goes so far, especially over the internet. Even in real life, that's like an impossible thing to know with 100% certainty. I've just always had this dumb philosophy that I'm not responsible for, my audience and how they behave beyond what content I put out. And that's stupid. And it's led to a lot of hate and a lot of bad outcomes. And I just want to make it clear that I am absolutely responsible for my audience. And, I guess if you want to, look out for people who are red flags, it's definitely people who had my mentality that say, I'm not responsible for what my audience does. I know that this apology isn't enough. I've clearly done a lot of damage. These videos have been up for a long time and have accumulated millions of views. I shouldn't be able to just make an apology video and walk away from it. This is something that I should live the rest of my life with, and I expect to. I've profited off of this bigoted content for years, and I've made a successful career out of it, and that's not right. I think that this is only a step in the right direction, and I know that a lot more needs to be done.
By the way, I want to pause here. This is 1010, okay? Also, I hope all of you dumb motherfuckers in the chat that were popping off in the Discord, popping off in the chat, fucking understand why I was defending him earlier, like a couple months back, when he hadn't made a video like this. But I was trying to tell you, like, no, he is a different person. And you were like, nah, it doesn't matter to me. He hasn't changed. Like, fuck you. Sometimes you need to listen to me, okay? Just sometimes listen to me. Well, like, I feel like I've done enough work for you to at least have a little bit of charitability and a little bit more understanding when I fucking tell you something, okay? I still have resentment even after you vouching for him and he's showing some good attitude because no formal apology. I think this video will be good for many that had the same sentiment as me, especially other POC chatters. We good now. You know what I mean? But yeah, he, like, dude, this is like an apology that Ben Shapiro would have to do. You know what I mean? to start the path of restitution. Like, he was nowhere near as bad. You were going off the base, off just apologizing. What? Don't try to fucking come up with justifications. Okay? Would you have him on the broadcast? I did. I would go so far as to say this broadcast in this community was one of the first places where he, like, very uncomfortably but very candidly talked about older videos publicly. But if you knew his like old content and you knew how he was when he was here, you would have already like, and you had like a little bit more empathy, you would have probably recognized it anyway. But I get it. I get like this is like very emotionally charged when you see stuff like this. When you remember his old content, and most importantly, not his old content, but what his old content did to you and all the people that when you were growing up watched this shit and probably was saying fucking slurs to you directly. You know what I mean? Because he was a profoundly popular content creator, especially for our generation, for our age group. So you just can't like separate that. No matter who the person is in front of you now, you just remember it with like the trauma that you experienced.
To even approach a life that I would think would be like acceptable. I am running ads on this video, and any revenue generated from this video, I'm going to match and donate to an organization that would have been particularly affected by the type of rhetoric that I've been spewing on this channel. And again, this isn't the end of what I'm doing. This is just the start. I don't feel like a lot of this content represents me as a person, at least not anymore. There was a time where it probably perfectly represented me because I was a nasty, apathetic, insecure person. Now that I don't feel like it represents me and I want to distance myself from it and keep it from, indoctrinating more people, I'd like to unlist the videos so that people, can access them still for whatever, purposes they might want to do that for. But it's not being proliferated on the website. I feel like that's the best solution, at least for the time being. And for anyone who liked those videos, I want this video to be an example and a lesson for you. You can like content, but you can also think that it's irresponsible and it's hurting other people. So just tap into that part of your brain that's saying like, oh, okay, it's probably not that important that this video stays online because truthfully, I've seen it, I've experienced the content, but it's done a lot of damage. We can just let it go. I'm sorry to everyone that I made content cop videos on. I still don't like the majority of you, and that's fine, but I can recognize that you did not deserve the hate and harassment.
See, this is what I mean. Like, nah, yeah, I'll take it one step further from what he's saying. No, that's valid. Nah, a lot of the content cops were valid. And I say this as someone who watched them like years later. I had never actually watched any of his like videos. I didn't, if you recall, I basically fucking watched them on stream a couple of years back. And the reality is that like, even back then, the reason why a lot of his work stood the test of time was because the people that he was shitting on and the way he was shitting on them were pretty fucking valid. Okay? For the most part. There are some that, obviously were like the internet villain and he was like going after the internet villains and whatnot. But like, ultimately, it was the execution and what he was actually saying in them, like the edgy stuff that he didn't even need to do, that his content actually suffered due to, in my opinion, or the timelessness of his content suffered due to the fact that he was like trying to also do the like edgy libertarian shit. I was like, iDubbbz and his wife are a little shady, but all you content creators are a little shady. Jesus Christ, dude. Why do you have such a fucking negative perception of the people whose content you consume? Like, I don't really understand that. I feel like that's also a commonly held belief too. Oh my God. I'm gonna start barking. There you go.
That I sent your way. I particularly want to apologize to Tana. Tana, I'm sorry. I should have never made that video. I harassed Tana in person and then harassed her online. And that's deplorable behavior. It's so stupid. I'm also sorry to all the black viewers and minority groups who had to put up with that video and put up with, the phrases. I said either it's all okay or none of it's okay. And that's just so dangerous and stupid. I have made content that I'm proud of over the years. It hasn't been as consistent as maybe I'd like it to have been. But, there is a lot of content that I think had a net positive on the world. And, I'm going to strive to continue on that trend. But again, I'm absolutely going to continue to make mistakes, but I want the mistakes to be a lot smaller and a lot less serious. I also want to give some clarity to the post-fight speech that I gave. I mean, it wasn't a speech. It was a phrase. I was like,
I know I'm not everyone's cup of tea. But I really do appreciate the support, and thank you for coming.
That was addressing the people over the years that I neglected and I left behind. The people whose feelings I, didn't take into consideration. Those are the people who I was addressing as, I know I'm not everyone's cup of tea. Anyone who thinks that I should be shouting the N-word from the rooftops, I don't want to be your cup of tea. Now I want to talk about events and situations that have happened over the past 5 years of my life that have led me to the place I'm at now. One year I was at a convention and a bunch of fans were, wanting pictures, And this particular fan came up to me and said, I know you probably don't like transgender people, but can I, get a picture? That smacked me in the face. I was like, oh, holy shit. Why would you think that? But I mean, it was fairly obvious.
Yeah. You know what's ironic? I bet that trans person was probably, pre-coming to terms with who they are, was probably a major iDubbbz fan. Too. Like a major iDubbbz fan who was probably just as fucking edgy, By the way, that trans person could be in here right now. There's a very high likelihood. But anyway, like there are many such cases. This is the same reason XQ doesn't use the R word anymore. He said he met a fan and felt super bad afterwards. Yeah, like there's a... Hey, stop saying me. All are just so desperate for attention.
I was being cruel, hateful, bigoted, and being very uncaring about people's feelings. That is a very fair assessment to make. I was giving this person bad vibes, and I think I've given a lot of people extremely bad vibes. Another event that was very important for me to experience was I went on a boxing podcast. I was basically like trying to walk back my Tana content cop. I was still very like...
Fan base is a mirror. Sometimes you don't like the reflection when you see it. Well, I actually love the reflection that I see. I just hate it in here. Okay? The reflection in the real world is incredible. The reflection in here is fucking disastrous sometimes. Not right now. Surprisingly, everyone is like pretty chill and pretty normal about this video. Way better reception than I thought it was going to be. Part of the reason why I want people to support Ian is because I know that other people in the left will not. They are not going to turn around and be like, wow, it's so nice that this like person is very publicly apologizing and giving a fucking banger of an apology that he didn't have to do. Like, he could have just kept being a fucking right-wing shithead. Maybe even become more radical. As long as he's not like a fucking Nazi, it doesn't matter. It's very profitable to be a fucking horrifying monster on the internet. Many are. That's like what we measure authenticity on the internet. How edgy you are. That's the only way to be fucking authentic. Right? And yet he didn't do that because he personally changed. It's real. This is real. This is who he is.
Insecure and uncomfortable with the fact that I made that video, and but I was still coping. You'll see me struggle in this clip to, say that it was wrong.
So I just wanted to let you talk on that, right? Because obviously using the N-word is definitely frowned upon by a lot of people, especially by a non-African American. But I was just curious.
That was a very weird video because I wanted to like criticize her for her like sort of flagrant use of it. I've been pretty flagrant about it too, not in the same way. I thought there was a message to be shared there, and I don't think it was particularly... It was okay in criticizing her, but I think I probably wasn't the person to deliver the message, if that makes sense. There was a message that I was trying to put out there, and like, I'm not really the person to put out that message. I don't regret making the video. I think, there's bits and pieces to take from it that I think are valuable, but, I probably wouldn't make it these days.
I'm very grateful to those guys and how they broached the subject because... it didn't put me on the defensive. It just made me realize, like, I'm stupid. I'm stupid, and I really need to, like, acknowledge these things. Like, what am I doing? I'm still trying to make excuses for myself and, like, why I made that video. It's like, it was a dumb idea. I harassed someone. I was saying slurs, and I was trying to justify it all. A very big thing that has sort of altered my view on all of this is just the amount of hate and harassment my wife Anissa has received over the years. She's had to deal with it from the beginning of our relationship, and I have done a horrible job at acknowledging her and her feelings for it. A lot of the time I just thought that was her problem, or that was other people's problem. Like, it's not my problem that you're getting hate and harassment. And it's like, no, it absolutely is. That's the culture that I cultivated, and I, didn't do anything to change that. Over the years it's changed a little bit, but I don't think I've still fully acknowledged how responsible I am for the amount of harassment that Anissa has had to deal with. And this year, I decided to speak more candidly and be more open about who I am as a person and to speak on my life a little bit more. And I did that on Anthony Padilla's podcast. These are the people that I'm attracting. These are the people that I'm entertaining. Like, I need to reevaluate things. They're relating and enjoying this content for a reason, and that's not maybe the same reason that I'm trying to make. I had a very Wild West mentality when it came to online behavior. Like, people are going to do what they want to do. People are going to say what they want to say. And I can pretty much do the same because it's the internet. But I think you have to be a lot more responsible. If you guys are at all interested in how I've arrived here, that video gives, you know, a good bit of context and talks about some of my life a little bit. There is a clip from this interview that's been floating around the internet, and it's me calling my fans antisocial and basement dwellers, and I was like, I didn't like, you know, interacting with my fans. I just want to be clear, like, that was my realization. I think a lot of people are like, of course that happened, is because you were creating that culture and you were attracting those people. And it's like, yes, I know. I know now. I didn't know before. It was my realization upon, you know, meeting more and more fans that I was like, oh shit, you guys are struggling. It was easy for me to identify them struggling when they were outside of my body. But the antisocial basement-dwelling incel that was inside here, I couldn't acknowledge that. I couldn't recognize that. So I needed the mirror to be held up to me. In closing, I want to say that I have always thought that I was an empathetic person because I thought, well, I get angry, I get sad. Of course I got empathy. Seems easy, right? Empathy. I definitely have that. There were moments where like a dog would die in a film and I'd cry. So it's like, of course I have empathy. But I never did. I think only in these past couple of years have I gained the ability empathy. And I'm very ashamed to admit that. It sounds really pathetic to say at the age of 32 I've acquired empathy. But I have, and I've realized it because I just like can't help myself but like feel for other people's pain and suffering now. I'm still not perfect. I think that is, my empathy meter's only maybe like a quarter of the way filled up potentially, but it's at least there. And I just want you guys to know that you can unlock ability empathy if you experience more life. It might take you getting hurt a little bit, but it's worth it. It is so worth it. So thank you for watching, everyone. I do want to create more regular content, and I don't want to just have the next 5 videos be apologies. So I have uploaded a squirrel video on my second channel if you want to watch that. I guess as one final thing, I just want to thank everyone who's given me the space and the compassion to grow as a person, because it's taken longer than it probably should have. I appreciate everyone, and I think most importantly, I appreciate my wife, Anissa. She has been insanely compassionate and helpful and patient in allowing me to grow over the years, and has legitimately encouraged me to be a better person.
She's dope.
Not a better person in just like the iDubbbz becoming woke kind of way. She was the one who said that I should try this boxing thing. I would have never done that on my own because I was insecure and I was pathetic. I did this, and I am so glad I did. It's been amazing. So, Anissa, I love you. You're amazing. Right now you're streaming. But bon voyage. Toodles.
Dude. Great video. 10/10 apology. It kind of feels weird just fucking rating someone's apology, all jokes aside. This is quite literally what I set out to do. Not saying that I played any role in Ian changing his mind. Obviously I didn't. But this is what I believe in. what I believe in is the capacity to change. I think that we are products of our social conditioning. We are products of our material conditions. It's impossible to, it's sometimes impossible to overcome that. And it takes a lot of strength. It takes a lot of courage, and it takes a lot of work to sometimes, depending on what your starting point is, depending on what your positions are, to overcome that. And it's certainly even harder to do it publicly. Obviously, the impact that you have on people, both negatively and positively, is much more significant when you are doing it in a public fashion. Okay? I usually look at like why people do this kind of change. Is there a financial reason for it? You know what I mean?